This is your thoughts. It seems as looser than the door on a 737 MAX 9.
I was stoned.
This is on the 16th. This is 3 days ago. Were you still on the cruise? How could you have been stoned on the cruise? Did you bring drugs on the cruise?
Look,
what?
I didn't bring drugs on the cruise.
You're an international criminal.
No. I didn't bring drugs on the cruise.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. I would have never brought drugs on the cruise. There's no way.
Oh, wow.
Not something that I would do.
Yeah, because that would be international drug trafficking and like very illegal.
No, I just don't do that.
Wow, smuggling drugs on international waters. Well, technically, there's no real regulation.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Prove it.
Okay. Well, regardless, we're digressing. Let's get back to the main story at hand here. Mm-hmm. So, conservatives saw this as an opportunity to do what they do best, which is yell about, non-white, non-straight, non-male people. And quickly, the aviation experts over at Tim Pool decided, and does anyone have the clip that I'm looking for? Quickly, Tim Pool decided this is DEI. That is the reason why this airplane crashed here. Or not crashed, but was forcibly landed. Here, let's take a look at what he had to say. I want your take on this. And this is like now the meta. Everyone is saying that it is DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that these massive companies are taking on.
Why is he wearing a beanie? It must be so cold in his room.
Yeah. Well, that's also DEI, being bald.
Voice recorder on that flight was erased. The question is why? Now they'll come on and say, oh, it's just an accident. It's an accident. But I wonder if there's actually some malfeasance in that right now it's an argument that the planes are no good. Following this report, we've got new information that loose bolts are found on door plugs on grounded United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets. These door plugs are areas of the plane. They're not emergency exits. They're optional. Some they do use, some they don't. I'm wondering how much of this is actually the planes are bad, or are we looking at a diversity hire problem where we have these pilots who are incapable of doing their jobs?
Oh my God.
And so you're getting pilot error.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I knew you would love this.
Oh my God.
This is such a good story.
Wait. I thought he was going to go the route. Of saying that, like, the manufacturer diversity hire.
Yeah.
He went the pilot route?
Yeah.
Because I know the pilot was a woman. This is why he's going that route.
Yeah.
The pilot was a woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, but
That's insane.
What's really
pilot
funny?
error?
What's
That
really
the door
funny?
blew off?
It's hilarious because let's just say on background got information that is still publicly accessible.
Oh my God.
To see if there was any physical way that pilot error could have contributed to this.
No, I could have told you that right now. No.
There is no physical way that the pilot error could have contributed to this manufacturing failure.
Of course not. Of course not.
But that didn't stop Timothy Pool from fucking making this assertion.
There's no physical possibility that the plane could be. Oh my God.
It's so stupid. But like, here's the thing. These guys are obviously incredibly dumb and incredibly fucking like bigoted.
Are you fucking stupid?
And that's why it doesn't matter. The truth does not matter. It's ironic because he's looking at an actual story, right, that covers what the real issue is. The real issue is corner cutting. The real issue is a lack of quality assurance that Boeing utilizes in its other subsidiaries and third-party contractors that they work with. You could find this out if you investigated it even a little bit, if you were like a little curious.
Also, the pilots don't, the flight attendants have to lock the doors manually. And first of all, this door
is not a door.
It's you can't even see it. It's not even. There's no button or lever or anything. It's just it's plugged, right?
Yeah.
Let's hear what he says.
Maybe the cabin was pressurized incorrectly, causing the door to blow out. They're then yelling in the cockpit.
He's saying the cabin was pressurized incorrectly, Austin. The pilot did not pressurize the cabin correctly.
You don't manually pressurize the cabin.
No, you don't understand.
You don't manually pressurize the cabin.
He has to bring it back to the woman, dog. You don't get it. Like, it's the woman pilot.
What does that even mean?
I think even his co-hosts are like, bro, you're stretching a little bit. Like, his co-hosts are like, dog, I'm racist as shit, but like, even I feel like you're a little off base.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's.
What did you do? What did you press? Oh no, I pressed the wrong button, and then they realize
they pressed the ejecto button. They pressed the fake door that's supposed to be a fucking panel button.
But it's not a button. What the fuck is this guy talking about?
There is no ejection.
There's no ejection button at all.
We will get in trouble and be sued if people find out what we admitted to here. So they erase the black box voice recorder.
Or the black box voice recorder only has a 2-hour limitation, and they accidentally kept recording over it, and that's why it doesn't have exactly the same, like the point of impact, I guess, or the point where like the door blew off.
Oh my god. Okay, here, let's keep watching him.
There's also air control audio apparently.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, let's go down. Last aircraft, say again. Center, Alaska, copy to declare an emergency. We're descending down to 10,000.
Yeah, so here, pause. The standard operating procedure is to immediately descend to 10,000 feet where you have breathable air. Until that point, the pilots will have their oxygen mask. So the reason you hear her voice constricted is she's got, I don't know if you guys ever watched my flight streams, but we actually put on the oxygen mask. So her voice sounds like, because she's got an oxygen mask on.
Yeah.
And she's following the proper procedure. To go down to 10,000 feet, right now they're at 14,500, whatever. The procedure is to immediately descend rapidly to 10,000 feet upon a depressurization.
Yeah.
So, and she's wearing an oxygen mask. I speculate that once they hit 10,000 feet, her oxygen mask came off and she was probably more audible after they got to 10,000 feet.
This is awesome. There's a guy who's still pushing this. The fact that they are, with extremely high probability, toying with people's lives and now trying to hide the truth of what happened is something that needs to be 100% investigated and the public being informed. So what I love about this guy's speculation is that he thinks like the National Transportation Board does not exist, right?
Yeah.
Like in his mind, he thinks like plane crashes are rare or these kinds of accidents are phenomenally rare just by sheer luck. Like there isn't an entire group of individuals, insurers, on the corporation side, Boeing, on the Boeing side, people looking into it, investigating it, on the third-party contractors that they work with, investigating it, on the airliner side, like the Alaska Air is not investigating this matter separately. The FAA is not investigating it separately. The NTSB is not investigating this separately. Like, there are probably, right off the top of my dome, I gave you what, like 6, 7 different agencies, both regulators and also internally conducting investigations into the matter. This guy thinks none of that exists and can't even apply critical thinking, which would allow you to actually
go to that clip.
Even without recognizing it. Here's an example of this happening.
You're not. I turned the oxygen on. All right, so just.
So this is what happens when a
Flight
cabin
attendants,
depressurizes. So here, stop. So this is what happened in Flight Simulator when I failed to turn on the what they call them the packs. I forgot to turn them on, which is what provides oxygen to the cabin.
Austin, this is you're ruining the argument I'm trying to make by being a bad gay pilot.
Well, I know, but this is what I'm trying to say is,
Austin, the argument I was making is that gay pilots are just as good as straight.
No, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that this was not a case of this is not a case.
If Tim Pool sees this video, it's over.
I know, but this is not, you don't, but hold on. If if you turn those off during flight, first of all, you wouldn't. The plane would notify you, and you wouldn't rapidly decompress. It would be a slow. This is what happened. This is what people alleged happened on MH370, right? The Malaysian airline plane, the ghost plane disappeared, right? They allege, right, that there's a theory out there that the pilot suffocated the cabin by turning off those packs, what they call them, like the packs.
Don't worry, it's gonna be okay.
Right?
The beeping,
Slowly,
you're not
the cabin
dead.
would depressurize. There would be alerts in the cockpit, but everybody else would slowly lose consciousness and pass out and eventually die.
Okay. Thank God I didn't. Thank God I didn't say I'd gift Hassan 100 subs this time. You're not dead. Let me tell you why. You're
Wait, on your streams, you make challenges where you're supposed to give me subs?
Well, I basically said that if you survive the flight, I will give the 100 subs. But everybody survived because we're at 17,000 feet. Everybody would have lived, right? Like I wasn't doing it right. Like you definitely should have descended. I wasn't following procedure because it was a simulator. But anyway, go back to the thing. This is irrelevant.
17,000 feet. You can.
Okay.
See, you can kind of
Thanks.
breathe at
Okay,
17,000.
so proper protocol, as Austin pointed out, but did not follow through on his own.
Yeah, okay. But that's the flight simulator.
In flight simulator is immediately descending down to 10,000 so that you no longer need oxygen. But like you don't need assisted oxygen, I guess.
But that would be the alert that they would hear in the cockpit. That's what they heard when the cabin depressurized.
Yeah.
Is when they heard that alert and immediately get oxygen mask on and then immediate descent.
Yeah. So, here, let's watch this. Let's keep going.
1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 10,000, and when able, give me the nature of the emergency and your intentions. Portland, Alaska, or Seattle, Alaska. 1282, we just depressurized. We're declaring emergency. We need to descend down to 10,000. Alaska 1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 10,000, 10,000, and when able, state your nature of emergency and your intentions. We just depressurized, descend and maintain 10,000, and we need to return back to Portland. 1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 1,000, and Portland altimeter 3023.
Yeah.
3023, flight pivot heading to Alaska 1282. And Portland,
Notice how the air traffic control is also a woman. I feel like DEI is taking over everywhere. You know what I mean?
It is incredibly hard to speak with those masks on. They're incredibly suffocating, and everybody sounds like that when they talk into them.
Yeah. I think this is another testament that we've devolved into we've descended into madness, complete madness on this, where as things like marginally get worse and worse due to the obvious fault of capitalist corner cutting, like a constant necessity for cost cutting measures being implemented, which of course eliminates redundancies like quality assurance in an industry that is supposed to have redundancies because they're fail safes, right? All of that is the real reason. I can tell you what the actual reason is. These are faulty door plugs that were installed by a third-party contractor that Boeing very likely hired specifically because they didn't, have the same they didn't put in the same measures, like the same quality assurance measures that you normally would have. This is my speculation. This is what it basically is pointing to, the problem itself. Yeah.
It looks like they took off from runway 28 left, right at Portland right there. You see that? Took off from 28 left.
But of course, the irony is that, you don't want to think about that. Okay, you don't want to think about that. You don't want to think. You don't want to think about the fact that like Boeing's profit seeking is putting passengers in danger because they're spending more of their capital on stock buybacks rather than actual implementation of quality assurance measures or manufacturing this stuff in house. And boom, what do you know it? Lo and behold, Boeing is no longer a real manufacturer of things. Okay, manufacturer of planes or any kind of like new tech or even old tech. It's basically just a what the hell is this? It's basically just a financial corporation. That's it. It's basically doing finance capitalism to a T. And obviously another byproduct of this is the fact that it's losing out to Airbus big time. Airbus and Boeing are basically the only two major airplane creators,
Yep.
right? I mean, the two
Yep.
companies that make airplanes on this
Yep.
planet.
Pretty much.
Airbus is the French French
European.
company.
French Europeans.
And Boeing is the American corporation. And Boeing has implemented and been able to like successfully deregulate and implemented significantly worse cost-cutting measures than Airbus seemingly. And that's why we are at this, we're
Interesting to me
in the
because
situation we're in.
Airbuses on paper make me a little. I think anybody that were to objectively look at Airbuses on paper versus Boeing's on paper, it seems to me that I would feel more safe in a Boeing because of the fact that there's like, if all your hydraulics go out, there's a pulley from the yoke that goes to the back of the plane and to the wings that you can actually physically fly the plane when you lose all power. You can hand fly the plane technically. With an Airbus, if you lose all that, it's like it's a fly-by-wire system. So if you have an electrical fire of some sort, and I'm sure there's redundancies and things like that, the Airbuses are a lot more difficult to. I don't even know how they would be recovered if you had some sort of catastrophic fire or failure of the electrical system. Which I don't. So on paper, you would think that a Boeing would be safer. Also, I will say, due to the fact that of the systems of the Airbus is much easier objectively to fly than the Boeing. The Airbus is, and I've flown both of them. I've flown the Airbus full flight simulator and the Boeing simulator. The Airbus is much easier to fly, which probably makes it more efficient for airlines to train their pilots on. The entry level to fly an Airbus is a lot easier than a Boeing. I'm guessing probably the training is still as sophisticated, but it's much easier to fly an Airbus. The plane does a lot of the things for you that a Boeing won't do. So they're probably getting their ass kicked on that front, and then also the fact that Boeing keeps having these missteps. So it's interesting to me because, I've always held the, not saying that Airbus pilots are bad pilots, but I've always held the belief that I think that Boeing pilots, generally speaking, they're flying a plane more and they're a little bit more, they're able to keep I'm not saying they're more skilled necessarily, but their skill set is a little bit more polished because they're actually flying the plane more than the Airbus pilots. The Airbus pilots, a lot of it's controlled for you. The plane trims for you. It balances itself out for you. The Boeing, you have to do a lot of that stuff manually. So your skills, I think, stay a little bit more polished as a Boeing pilot. I don't know. Just
someone is trying to say Boeing had to cancel certain quality specs because the guy who oversighted them during COVID died during COVID and no one knew what he did. So they just cut out the requirement. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look into that a little bit further. I believe it, but that seems a little too insane. But yeah, ultimately, chat. There's
scroll up. There's a real pilot wanted to say something.
What?
Go up, scroll up.
As an airline pilot, it's so funny how Austin knows more about airplanes than some real pilots. Yeah, he has a plane autism. It's the only.
It's the only thing I'm smart about.
Yeah, that's why I was frustrated that he like selfishly went on a cruise in the middle of like.
Well, I think that was I cursed the aviation industry by going on a boat.
When the world needed him the most, he vanished. Yeah, you cursed the aviation industry by quitting your usage of the aviation industry.
And I want to say this to Tim Pool. 2 recent catastrophic depressurizations that potentially catastrophic depressurizations. The first one was a Southwest Airlines plane that happened, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, right? That happened 2 or 3 years ago. And then this most recent one, both times, women captains, both times, heroic efforts by the pilots to land the plane safely.
Yeah.
The unfortunate situation in the Southwest Sun, there was 1 life lost because they got sucked out of the plane. But like both times, women pilots, and both times successful, and they did everything they were supposed to do, and everything
like
they
women
could.
pilots are 2 for 2.
No. What I'm trying to
Just
say
saying.
is what I'm trying to say is
2 for 2 on
it wasn't-
depressurization.
No, you guys are taking it the wrong way. I'm not saying
maybe women are at fault here.
No, women aren't the problem. I'm just saying 2 times at which it has happened, women were in control and they handled the situation perfectly.
Yeah. You have the same curse. To be fair, some big happens whenever you go off stream. That's true. All right, so let's finish this.
So then it's oops, we have no idea. It must just be the planes are no good.
going. Keep
I
going.
like that he's like trying to defend Boeing here. Now, remember when I was like kind of making fun of that gray name chatter who was like, oh, well, an investigation must be conducted, right? The reason why I made fun of that chatter is because a critical thinker in this circumstance would do one of two things. Maybe you're unfamiliar with the NTSB, the FAA, and numerous other like regulatory agencies that ensure that like, fatalities in commercial air travel are kept to a minimum. Maybe you're unfamiliar with that, but you can just think about it a little bit critically and realize, perhaps in your mind's eye, that there are numerous corporations involved in this process, and there's going to be a lot of people who are personally invested inside of those corporations, inside of those companies, that are going to want to ensure that they keep their blame to a minimum. Self-interest. Boeing is self-interested in this and wants to ensure that they are not at fault. So there's going to be a personal investigation internally into who is responsible for this. United is going to investigate. Alaska Air is going to do an investigation. Every part of this process is going to have an investigation. Everyone that's like tangentially related is going to look at this to see where they can shift the blame. This is what a critical thinker would do, even if you're completely oblivious to the regulatory mechanisms at play here. Okay? And that's what conservatives fail to do every step of the way. They want neat, comfortable narratives that they can land on. And there is no more comfortable a narrative that you can land on than the oldest narrative. It must be someone who is a non-white male. That's got to be the reason. Now, Tim Pool looks at a story that directly counters that, okay, with facts, and says, no, I don't believe it. But then he does something that I find very funny, which is at least a little bit more convenient of an argument because it directly physically involves the person that is on the manufacturing side, and goes, maybe it's because Boeing is doing DEI hires in their
that's
facilities.
what I thought he was going to do.
Yes,
originally,
which is like still a stupid fucking argument, but at least it's a little bit smarter
That
than
makes
like
a little bit more sense.
immediately blaming the pilot in a situation that is completely outside of the control of the pilot.
Ashley St. Clair was tweeting about a flight that landed from Newark, New Jersey, and it bounced on the runway, hard landing, nearly totaling the plane. I think the plane is disabled. The fuselage looks like it was bent and cracked up.
It's not true.
And according to Ashley St. Clair, or I should say, she asked
Not true.
whether or not this was a diversity hire who was fired and then rehired.
I love that he's like making up a fantasy here where he's like, I saw a plane land really hard and I assumed in my mind that it was maybe like a DEI hire that was fired, that was hired again, and like that's the person who's responsible. I'm imagining a situation where like, what if the plane actually landed really hard? What if that plane had a woman pilot or a black pilot or something? And what if that black pilot previously was fired because they were bad, obviously, and then they were rehired because of diversity?
But you know what makes it even more funny about this that Tim is failing to understand? I've been told by numerous pilots that within reason, a hard landing is actually good for the plane. It's good for the plane.
What? The plane likes
it? I don't know why, but I've been told by numerous pilots, like
it feels good as fuck.
A firm landing.
It feels good as fuck for the plane when it lands firmly.
A firm landing is good for the struts and the landing gear. It's good for the plane. And look, it may sound ridiculous, and I don't understand the reasoning by it, but it's a good solid landing. Also, the planes are built and designed to take a tremendous amount of stress when they hit the ground. Planes bounce all the time. I've been on a plane that bounces when it lands. It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly okay. Nobody's getting fired. It's fine. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what if in the hypothetical situation that I made up that perfectly corresponds to my personal biases about like non-white, non-male people, they were at fault for a thing that didn't even happen? This is no different than being like, I mean, he just imagined something. Like, It's the perfect conservative narrative, chat. This is why I wanted to show this video. I've showed it already, but I wanted to look at this video one more time because there's like very obvious facts that are very quickly assessed in this situation, right? And the investigation will continue. But I'm sorry, there is nothing funnier to me about the conservative mind than looking at an article, refusing to read any of it, immediately cooking up a narrative that you built in your mind, and then creating a hypothetical scenario where you got scared, okay, and then being afraid of the being afraid of the hypothetical situation that you made up in your mind.
Also, fuselage crack that doesn't even like from landing, from
He
bouncing.
said it was bent. The plane was bent because it landed too hard.
And they fired them. What the fuck is going on?
He's right. I did stress analysis on airplane struts and landing gear, but it's basically an IRL testing of the shear force on many of the rods that hold it together in different directions. People think landing gear are like our legs and might buckle in a different direction, basically anisotropic, whereas landing gear are meant to be isotropic and take forces in all directions, which is why a 90-degree turn landing never buckled once.
So see, that's the actual. I didn't know why, but that person came with the actual explanation for why these pilots were saying a good solid landing is good for the plane. Within reason, of course. I'm sure at a certain point you would fucking be crashing, but a good hard landing is good. And like you guys ever heard of Ryanair? Right?
Yeah, that's a European. Isn't Ryanair the European
but you know how
budget?
they're notorious for hard landings, right? Like always, like hard landings. Well, I was with when we did the flight simulator thing in London or England. The pilot that was training us or that helping us, he was a pilot. He was a former captain for Ryanair, and he told me the reason why Ryanair landings are so firm is because the standard operating procedure for Ryanair tells the pilots they have to land within the early part of the threshold of the runway. So the pilots have to put the plane down quickly because in Europe and a lot of the destinations that Ryanair flies to, the runways aren't 10,000 feet long like the United States. They're a lot shorter. So it's safer to put the plane down firmly with these hard landings earlier on in the threshold and land in a firm way because it's completely safe and good for the plane.
It's good for the plane. I love the way you say that.
Then try to, like in the U.S., they'll like try to kiss the runway because they're so long.
A good solid landing hits the plane's G spot. It feels good. It probably feels good as fuck for the plane.
Yeah.
Landing hard, dude. The plane loves it. Goes, oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Land firmly in the plane.
Oh, I love talking about planes. It's the only time I can look semi-intelligent. I love it so much.
Even though they shouldn't have been.
Going.
We got a pilot shortage. Flight cancellations like crazy. Are these airlines hiring in large numbers, and are they hiring for diversity? Because we know Boeing's all about it. Take a look at this. Global Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Report. I'm wondering if what's really happening is the infrastructure failures we're seeing are due to the fact that all of these companies for the past decade plus have been prioritizing hiring based on ideology instead of meritocracy.
This is also so funny. Like the notion that they're just like automatically hiring people that would be otherwise disqualified. DEI initiatives are not created specifically so you hire like black people or brown people instead of white people. First of all, really funny, especially on the engineering side. I mean, I at least know from like the engineers that I've met. This is anecdotal, but like, you know, white people are. Yeah, exactly. This is one of the few places where white people are the fucking minority. Okay. Exactly. And that's not because of DEI, homie. That's not. Okay. You go to a trading floor, a lot of white guys. You go to a financial institution, a lot of white dudes. You go to the executive level, a lot of white guys. You look at the fucking actual engineering floor, not a lot of white guys there. Okay.
Nope.
And that's not because of the fucking DEI measures. Let me tell you. Now, they need the DEI white guys for engineers. Yeah, literally. They did a diversity measure so they could have more white engineers.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why the door failed.
Yeah. So the funny part about this is that like DEI measures across the board are not like racial quotas. That is illegal.
Smells like white man door installation.
Yeah, that's number one. Number two, DEI simply opens up the pool of candidates that you are looking at that you normally, I guess, somehow avoid looking at because maybe you're a little bit more interested in having a predominantly white workforce. That's it. This does not mean that the qualifications of a black or brown engineer, which is hilarious to think about, that like, you know, especially like brown people, brown engineers being worse somehow and not like, you know, being overrepresented in the engineering field. It's not about that at all, and it has everything to do with opening up the hiring pool to a broader subsect of society. That's it. DEI is the new affirmative action neoliberal band-aid solution that hogs pretend is anti-white racism, but it's like the thing about DEI is that, or all of these things are that they simply are there for marketing purposes. That's it. It's for liberals to feel good about what they did. It doesn't mean that you're actually fucking hiring people that are less qualified for a position and like overlooking white people.
I just can't.
It just automatically comes with the assumption that like white people are just going to be better at everything because it's a white supremacist value.
It was just so immediately a lot of the comments on the video of the air traffic control were going after the pilot for being a woman, and you know, a lot of sexist related remarks. You know, these people that could never even, you know, begin to understand anything about a plane.
Yeah.
I can't believe he went after the pilots.
Yeah, it's also additionally funny considering that, like, I would say that aviation has probably year over year gotten significantly safer in comparison to like the fucking 60s.
Yes.
When everyone was like, by definition, a white guy doing every aspect of the craft.
Yes.
So if anything, if I were to be a dumb guy who thinks correlation equals causation, I would look at that and go, more black and brown people on every aspect of the engineering on the building side and also on the piloting side, and it's become safer.
Wasn't in 2023, I don't think there was a commercial jet crash, a fatal commercial. Wait, the Air China one, was that, or China Airlines, was that 2022? But I don't think there was a fatal one in 2023. Somebody sent that to me on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's really
of a commercial
funny.
airline.
What my ex's dad is a civil engineer, and he once told me he had to choose a less qualified black guy over a more qualified white guy because of these policies. Yeah, brother, that's the racist assumption that the black guy is automatically less qualified. Here is why it is literally impossible to argue on this point with people who maintain this position, because in their minds, they think the white guy is always more qualified. Okay? So yeah, in his mind, the white guy is way more qualified than the black guy. So, oh man, DEI is forcing me to hire this black guy. That's it. That's the whole point. White guy had an internship at the country club, but the black guy didn't. Yeah, shit like that as well. Anyway, big companies don't just do DEI for their reputation. Research shows that companies with more diverse workforces are more successful because they bring in more varied perspectives and prevent groupthink. That is also true. I am no big city capitalist lawyer myself, but I know that companies with more diverse boards, right? More diverse boards of executives unironically yield better profits year over year. And once that information is out, these guys don't care. Nobody at the tippy top gives a shit. They just want their bottom line to be better. So they see that and go, okay, great. Boom. Come on, hire a couple, hire a couple people to spice it up a little bit. And that's it.
It's sad, though, what happened.
What?
I really want Boeing to be good as an American.
Yeah.
I want the company to be good and safe, because I've flown on the Max several times, and I love that plane as a passenger. It's a beautiful plane. The passenger experience is great. it's sad that they
Yeah.
that shit keeps happening.
We got to go back to the 70s when it was all white guys drunk as fuck flying the planes because it was significantly safer. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about. Make airplanes great again, baby. Just, people falling asleep on the wheel, basically, because they're fucking hammered. You know what the biggest tragedy in this Boeing cutting corners? I don't even want to get into it. I look, I already covered it extensively. I think it's silly, and there's more to talk about. Terror in the skies after diversity hire takes over. So now this is Lauren Witzke.
Yeah, I know, but
who is literally she says she's a Christian nationalist. Like, she is literally a white supremacist. Okay? I love the notion that you look at anything that is going on in the world and immediately the first thing you think of is like, oh, something bad is happening. It must be like a non-white person that was hired. Like, oh man, top of the hour ad break came 3 minutes before the top of the hour. Must be a diversity hire. Oh, I stepped on a Lego. Must be a diversity hire. It's just such a comfortable narrative to constantly repackage. Okay. So that you can feel comfortable knowing that you won't see the top of the hour ad break, but you will. So prepare for it. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Prepare for it by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Okay. Prepare for it by hoping that you'll get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Okay? That's it. And then you won't have to sit there, their dick in your hand, complaining about diversity hires. Okay?
Oh, this is so stupid. How do you argue with these people?
Here's the 3-minute ad break now. A Cat for Cutie, thank you for the 5-tier 1 gift sub. You can't argue with someone that literally looks at something that's happening in the wild, has no other contextual clues into what is actually the responsible party, and immediately goes, black people. You can't do that. It's just, you can't argue with this person.
Also, it wasn't terror in the skies. A 747 has 4 engines.
Oh my God, it's on fire.
Like, imagine she's the one who filmed it. Oh my God, it's on fire. Must be black people.
They landed. Yeah, they landed safely.
Yeah. Borlo, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Oh my God. Sorry. It's on fire. Mom.
Yeah, and then it's not because they probably put the engine out
Holy shit.
by calmly following the standard operating procedure, and then had 3 other working
No,
engines,
it's still doing it.
and then landed safely. Is that what happened, Hassan?
I don't know the details. This just happened.
I
but
think that's what happened.
She goes, look. Diversity hires now checking for fuel lines. Diversity hires now performing the safety checks. Diversity hires teaching you how to use an oxygen mask. Diversity hires in the driver's seat. The glory days of flying are over. Time to get an RV. All right, bitch, get a fucking RV then, okay? Take your dumbass into RV town, okay? Instead of flying everywhere, take an RV. I don't want to sit next to your nasty white supremacist ass on the fucking plane anyway, okay? Take your dumb ass down to the fucking RV store and get one, okay?
Dude, it kills me. Scroll down. Miami Airport. As if the airport hiring has anything to do with what happened.
Yeah.
Number one. Number 2, have you seen Miami? It's like a. Have you seen the demographic of Miami? Of course. It's a diverse Miami's incredibly diverse.
Okay,
as a
talking
city.
about but Miami also is like, they move at a different speed over there, so maybe I wouldn't bring up that they're all diverse there.
Wait, what do you mean? Did I say something wrong?
No, I'm just making a Florida joke.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Jesus.
there's other things you could say.
No, the better example would be like, looking at I don't know, like Turkish Airlines, right? And being like, wow, look at all these fucking diversity hires.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what about
wow,
other countries that fly planes?
I can't believe that, in every other country, there are diversity hires everywhere.
Yeah.
George Santos' campaign funds, thank you for the 5 gifted. My Bourbon Gamer, more up dog, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. Lots of gifts coming in. A lot of diversity gifts.
Hassan, I have to go.
You have to leave?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Did you want to cover anything else with me?
Well, no, it's all good. It's just like a lot of
You
DEI.
want to go back to...
This is in the pocket of like
Okay,
everything
let's take
you
a look
care
here.
about. An American Eagle jet slid off the runway of Rochester International Airport in New York, causing a stir among emergency personnel and various agencies. The incident occurred at Frederick Douglass Greater Rochester Airport, where an American Eagle flight operated by Piedmont experienced a slide off.
It was a diversity hire who was de-icing the runway, obviously.
Yeah, with 53 passengers on board, no injuries have been reported so far, and crews are actively working to remove the aircraft off the runway.
They were probably gay, using gay de-icing equipment. They're actually using. You know what? I got it, Hassan. They've been hiring these gay de-icers, right? These gay de-icing drivers.
And they want to skate on it.
No, but more importantly, they've been mixing up lube with de-icing equipment, and they've actually been laying down Swiss Navy lubricant on the runway, which is leading to the planes sliding off.
Yeah,
that's
they just what those damn gays. They can't control the ice, man. They see the ice and they're like, "I'm a figure skater."
Yes.
That's the gayest thing one can do.
Yep.
So that's it.
Lubed, I don't know if lube freezes. I have no idea. All I know is it's impossible to get off your dick after. All right, sorry, but it is really difficult to get off. It's water resistant. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to wash that shit off? You know what I mean? Like, is anybody with me? Huh? It's fucking. I need
Austin is misogynist against bottoms.
I need to invent lube remover.
Answer for your
that would sell lube remover. Okay, where you apply the lube remover, one swipe of the towel, it's all gone.
I am shocked at how pale you are still after coming off of a
goddamn
cruise.
Can I tell you something?
What?
I went to Jamaica, Haiti, private island in the Bahamas. Okay, I suntanned. I put on only 30 SPF. I used suntan oil also to tan. I was out in the sun for probably 4 to 5 hours a day. I did my absolute very best. Okay, I did my best. You know what? You know what I ended up with?
What?
A fucking sun rash. I went to Jamaica for like 2 or 3 hours on some beach, and I ended the day with a fucking rash everywhere, like a sunburn. I got sun poisoning, and I was using 30 SPF sunscreen the entire time.
Because you've never see the sun. That's it.
But
That's
what am
like
I
the whole
supposed to
point.
do? What am I supposed to do? Tell me what I'm supposed to do.
You have to train your body to see more. Of
Where
the sun.
am I going to go?
Los Angeles here today.
There's no sun here. Dude, if I can't tan in Jamaica, where the UV index is like 11, there's no tanning anywhere.
I think you just got to keep training.
I Googled it.
Especially during the summers. Like, you got to keep training.
I Googled it.
Train your body.
I Googled it. Some people just don't produce melanin.
That's not a thing.
No, it is a thing.
What?
Some people just can't produce it.
There's just people that no matter how much sun they see,
They just can't
don't
produce it as much.
Wouldn't they get like sunburnt
Yeah,
immediately
they get
and
burnt,
peel off
but
or
they don't
something?
really get tan. My face
you don't
gets
even
a little
get
sun
But you
kissed.
don't even get sunburnt. Like, how does
I
that
got
fucking
burnt.
work?
I got burnt. Right
I
now.
don't see
You
it.
can't see it right now, but because it's kind of healed already. But I got burnt. I don't know. I'm Lebanese too. What the fuck is that shit? Or where the fuck is those genes? My dad gets fucking dark as shit. My mom does too, and she's Irish. She's actually Algonquin Indian, a little bit. That's why she can tan really well. My dad can tan really well. Maybe I was fucking adopted.
Yeah, you're the milkman. You're the milkman's child. They left you. The milkman
Did I mispronounce that?
What, Algonquin?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think I did.
I don't know.
I am Irish too. I'm
Wow,
Irish.
you're indigenous in every different direction, it seems.
Yeah, that must have been a crazy. I don't know how the fuck. You know where? You know what I found out? Where my family originally immigrated to from Lebanon,
Where?
Iowa.
That's so. I mean,
And
you are
also,
white.
part of my family went to Haiti. Evidently, they went to Iowa and then Haiti.
Wait, why Haiti?
So part of the family went to Haiti. Well, because think if you're fleeing Lebanon or whatever, and you're immigrating somewhere else, you want a climate that is a little bit closer to.
Maybe we need to shut down immigration in Iowa until we figure out what's going on.
This was a long time ago.
Okay. All right,
Wait a
anyway,
minute,
this is the
I
last
gotta
one.
run.
This is the last one.
Okay,
Breaking
okay,
news,
okay.
plane crash. We're going to cover this and then you can get
We've
out
got
of
some
here.
dramatic images coming out of Virginia where the video is showing what appears to be a small plane making an emergency landing on the highway there. The single engine plane blocking all lanes right now. It's
This isn't as
unclear
interesting to me
at
'cause
this
it's not a
time how many
commercial jet,
people
but
were
I'm
on
in on
board
it.
that plane. Emergency crews say no injuries were
Oh, was it a private
reported.
jet?
We'll
It's a
follow
private
the
plane, yeah.
details via
Small
VDOT
plane.
there.
This happens all the time.
PJ.
It happens all the time.
Significantly less safe than like commercial
Yeah,
airliners.
which is
for
why
the
I don't
record.
fly private.
Yeah. Oh, that's the reason? That's
Yeah.
what's stopping you?
Yeah, I actually don't fly private. I got offered to fly private a couple times. I like the bigger planes. That's my
Yeah.
thing. But
Anyway,
anyway. Well, hey,
all right.
look, I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Thanks
Um,
for coming on.
Expect a lot of content out of me. I'm starting a new series
Mhm.
called In the Tub with Austin Show,
Mhm.
where it'll be me in a bathtub, charcuterie board, wine, and then that series will spin off into a touring series called Austin Show in Your Tub, where I'll be traveling to people's tubs and taking over their bathrooms and forcing them to sit and bathe with me. I anticipate it's going to be Twitch's new hit show. And it's not a hot tub; it's a bathtub. I will be in their bathtub. I'll be raiding their bathtubs. I'll be taking phone calls.
I'll
be eating charcuterie.
and
I'll be eating-
unsustainable, but
Unsustainable. What?
we'll
Why
see.
not?
Well, how are you going to get every single person? Like, how are you going to bring camera equipment to other people's like houses and then stream?
You'd let
in
me
the
in your
back-
bathroom?
But how are you going to set up? Do you have any idea what it takes to be able to set up a?
I
like,
hired a producer. He
on the-
seems to know what he's doing.
on the go. You need to first of all, you need to hardwire your Ethernet cable for consistent bandwidth.
Okay, yeah. right.
When
You're
you go into
complicating the
someone's
situation.
bathroom,
No,
that's
it'll
my
be fine.
first thing. That is the first
Dude,
thing that
I
I thought
streamed
about.
out of a flight simulator in a fucking warehouse. Okay, I
Yeah,
can
but that was
stream from
an
a bath-
IRL stream.
Yeah, no, it would. Yeah, no, we streamed from a laptop. It was from a laptop.
Okay.
So
All
we
right.
could, if I could somehow figure out, it'll be easy. Come on, I stream from Wi-Fi at my house. Okay.
All right. Really?
Yeah, that's why I never can hold a connection.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
But let me tell you, don't listen to Hassan. He just doesn't want it to happen because he's first up on the guest list for In Your Tub with Austin show.
Oh, am I? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, we're going to have twink men delivering charcuterie and wine. And I don't know what we're talking about, but let me tell you, it's going to be great. It's intimate. It's one-on-one. It's perfect. I'm in your tub. It's a little bit invasive, I understand, but I think it's a good way to break down walls.
This guy's
And
at
get to know
regular
each other.
poor people stream from their every day from their house. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I was a regular
Yes,
poor
thank you.
person.
Thank you so much for
I was
recognizing.
a poor person streaming from my house.
Thank you so much for recognizing that I'm regular and poor.
Yeah.
Thank you so
He's
much.
not
Finally.
regular, nor is he poor.
No, I'm
gonna
very
go
poor. I
fly
don't
on-
have a job. I went on vacation for free. It was
Yeah.
I had to. It was they donated it to me.
Yeah, that's
because
nice,
they felt
dude.
bad.
Yeah. Poor
That's
people
right.
can't. Famously, poor people don't have access to an Ethernet cable.
Yeah. Well, look, I
Yeah.
also just want to let you know I represent you guys more than
Austin
Hassan.
was literally on a private island.
That was
okay.
yeah, but it was a shared private island. It was a socialist private island.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
We all
nice.
shared it. Okay, we all
Yeah.
swam up to the pool bar as one collective. It was almost like a union almost. It was
Listen.
it was a socialist island,
Listen,
not Epstein's island. It was
it's
it was
quite-
Royal
it's-
Caribbean's island. Okay,
Okay.
it was a
It's
socialist
quite
island.
difficult for me not to make fun of anarchists like no gods, Ken Masters here, when like they so dramatically missed the point that I was making. My point is that you can't stream from other people's houses. My point is that the bandwidth necessary, okay, and the background necessary for consistent upload speeds, I as a streamer know this, you do not, is going to be really hard to do in every random person's house from the bathroom. They might not even have a bathtub. That's one thing. But beyond that, it is very difficult as far as like the production side goes to be able to consistently put out a quality product.
I'm not going to random people's houses. I'm going to streamer houses that are equipped for this sort of
Yeah,
thing.
we'll see. I
I
mean,
mean, what do you think? I'm just going to some random dude's house, you know?
I will not be doing it from my bathtub. I'll tell you that much.
Well, we'll rent a bathtub. Come on, quit being a bitch.
Okay.
We'll
right.
do. Your bathtub's big enough for two. I've taken a bath in there.
All right.
All
I'm a
right.
streamer on my private account.
Okay. All right. Well, look, you know what? I don't need anybody in my tub. I'm just going to do it alone. All right. There you go.
All right.
I'm going to do it alone in my tub, and then Hassan's going to join me. I'm going to raid his bathroom. He won't even notice.
All right.
By the way, thanks for the jewelry.
That's crazy.
all right, okay.
Wait, did you take more?
No,
Oh.
of course
You
not.
fucking better not
Okay.
have. I can't believe
We'll
you.
see you.
All
We'll see you
right.
in a couple days. All
All right. Bye, Austin.
Peace out.
Austin will be back for our Sunday special. We're doing 2 podcasts this week, but I don't know when we're gonna upload it or how we're gonna upload it. But anyway, regardless, I don't understand why I'm being mocked. You're being mocked because you didn't understand what I was saying. You did not understand what I was saying. What I'm saying is that in order to make a consistent product, there is a lot of difficulties with, like, 1, getting people comfortable enough to, like, show their bathrooms. 2, getting people shirtless in this process, like on their own streams or on someone else's streams. But more importantly, tried to make a joke, then took it personally. Yeah. Or more importantly than that, being able to stream from not your streaming room, not your bedroom where you have your streaming set up, but from a random room in the house a bathroom specifically, is going to be quite the difficult endeavor. That's it. I know this because I have tried to set up different types of streams all around my house, not in the bathroom, but it's still applicable to the bathroom as well. All right, Little Espresso, thank you for the 10 gift to subs. We're going to move on from this. All right. No, son, you just hate poor people. Exactly. That's probably what it is. A YouTuber by the name of Oh My God, It's Firefox already did the tub, I think. I mean, theoretically, it's not easy to interview somebody while they're eating spicy wings. True. I think if there's one person who can pull it off, is Austin. What? Yeah, I am. Yeah, he says, I'm bought and sold by the powerful shower lobby, which is true. That's why I tell Anarchist to shower all the time. I'm always telling him to take a shower. All the time. All right. Okay. Azan, do you see the Yemeni kid got interviewed by the BBC? I doubt anyone accuses the BBC of platforming terrorists, though. Wait, no way? Show me the interview. When are you going to have me on the show? What? Okay. So, do you have your playlist? I do. Is it on there? I haven't looked at it. Is it on the playlist? Or where is it? Oh, it's in Arabic though.
في ناس كثير أجانب واقفون إلى جانب القضية.
It's in Arabic. I need to see it in English. Is it BBC? Is it Arabic BBC? I'm not gonna translate it piece by piece. I want to see it. We'll see it when it like makes its way to other channels. But cool that they have that they're doing this. That's one, and I wonder if people will be very upset about that, platforming a terrorist. I'm sure they won't, because it's not me. Speaking of it's not me, in another long and convoluted saga, I almost lost my mind this morning when I woke up to, once again, another incredibly, profoundly annoying, like unimaginably annoying new Twitter moment. Okay. Community notes. Okay. Community notes on first this, which I guess didn't take. They took it down. So they tried to community note this. This morning when I woke up, I saw this. Visegrad24, the Polish government-backed right-wing fascist account that became a prominent fixture on Twitter for its loyalty to the NATO adjacent struggles that were going on. They were doing like a lot of coverage in Ukraine, and it gained a lot of prominence, right? It's a frequent misinformer. Like, everybody with a little bit of know-how understands that it is just a rampant misinformer, abuser of like other people's content. Okay, they do a lot of fake news, right-wing slanted fake news. Yeah, I'll cover this part in a second. Now, one of the things that they did as a idiotic, here's the Nazi community note here that they deleted, but they were so these fucking losers on Twitter are so unimaginably bent out of shape that they community noted this, and then they tried to community note this one as well, which apparently, because like the other one got taken down, so they tried to community note this one. So Visegrad24 posted, example of U.S. air superiority from Operation Desert Storm. The Houthis would benefit from not pushing buttons. First of all, you're Polish. Okay? What are you talking about? Like, there is no it's not Polish air superiority, my friend. It's American forces. These were coalition forces. You had nothing to do with it. Okay? How about you calm the fuck down? That's number one. And number two, it's a war crime. You have posted a war crime. Just because it is not considered a war crime because America did it does not change that reality. So here's the thing. I said this was an American war crime on retreating forces and civilians called Highway of Death, where A-6 intruder jets bombed the front of the vehicle column to cause a pileup, boxing in thousands of cars. They kept bombing for 10 hours straight. You Polish government-funded fascist freak. Then I said, I hate these animals so much. They have nothing to look forward to other than fantasize about America doing war crimes to victims of colonial violence with funds that could instead go to paying for hospitals, roads, and schools, which was a broader point, not specifically about the Highway of Death in general. Okay? And he said, enjoy your community note, which is funny because, once again, the second community note just was entered when the first one was taken down. So that's the other funny part. And I can't even see it, which is also ridiculous. But it's like, also, the rule about retreating militants is that they are fair game under international law. We can say that international law is fucking wrong and that bombing the fuck out of retreating troops is a war crime. Yes. Here's why. Okay? The notion that you can blow up retreating troops unless they are literally retreating to a better position is that, yes, under international law, that's a position that is, that goes back and forth. If America does it, obviously, everyone, if America does it, they can do it, right? That's allowed. That's how international law works. Other countries, they do that. When the Russians do it, that's a war crime. So just remember that, okay? Now, having said that, the reason why this is a particularly egregious war crime that these fucking animals are posturing about and fantasizing about, right? And again, this is the maximum copium because this first thing that I mentioned was directly a war crime that they added this community note to originally. Okay? Here's the community note. I tweeted about it as well. I said, I love the community noters on this app because just not reading their own links, I suppose. The Wikipedia page they source from actually agrees with me. Because notice I said it's a war crime on retreating forces and civilians called the Highway of Death. They linked Wikipedia and the International Human Law databases. Okay? The Wikipedia page they linked to tell me that this is not a war crime, actually, and totally just, actually says that it is very likely to be a war crime. The attacks were controversial, with some commentators arguing that they represented a disproportionate use of force, saying that the Iraqi forces were retreating from Kuwait in compliance with the original UN Resolution 660 of August 2nd, 1990. Okay? And that the column included Kuwaiti hostages and civilian refugees. The refugees were reported to have included women and children, family members of the pro-Iraqi PLO-aligned Palestinian militants, and Kuwaiti collaborators who fled shortly before the returning Kuwaiti authorities pressured nearly 200,000 Palestinians to leave Kuwait. Activist and former United States Attorney General Ramsey Clark argued that these attacks violated the Third Geneva Convention, Common Article 3, which outlaws the killing of soldiers who are out of combat. Clark included in his 1991 report, War Crimes, a report on the United States war crimes against Iraq to the Commission of Inquiry for the International War Crimes Tribunal. Okay? Every community note on here just going forward is literally this. It's 100% correct. Every community note is like, yeah, it says that it's really interesting that you're saying that this was a war crime, but what if I think it was cool? Because I'm a neck-bearded, mouth-breathing racist. Here's another absolute psychopath. Lamau, bombing retreating military forces is not a war crime, you bootlicking authoritarian clown. You think the retreating invasion forces are to be treated like non-combatants under Geneva Conventions? That's absurd. Read a book, you fucking moron. I'm begging American leftists, please learn what a war crime is before opening your stupid mouths. The first Geneva Convention was signed in 1949. There's generally no excuse for your ignorance. Hassan says Wikipedia agrees with him because it cites the opinion of Check Notes Saddam Hussein's lawyer. Oh shit, dude. I didn't realize that automatically made me go, oh, Saddam's a bad guy. We agree. Which means that automatically everyone that was killed in that process was a valid kill. The only reason why I posted the Wikipedia note is not because I learned from Wikipedia that the highway of death was a war crime that was never prosecuted. The reason why I posted the Wikipedia page is because that's what they posted. The inherent irony of posting a Wikipedia link that blatantly undermines the position that you have is the hilarity here. Not that it's like the most reliable source. Which, by the way, I, of course, mentioned in the tweet. So the question here is, are you that fucking brain dead? Are you that stupid? Or are you maliciously presenting this in a way that you can channel all of the frustrations that many liberals have on Twitter, where they want to turn around and claim that, like, no, this is another American bombing that was perfectly valid. You did just say they were fleeing when the law, Adams' lawyer says they explicitly can't carry firearms if fleeing, which they did. You need to stop screaming people are idiots when they're explaining how you're wrong. Once again, retreating forces, which included refugees and other civilians, retreating forces in civilian vehicles with refugees and other civilians after a suspension of hostilities is being followed on is not an appropriate bombing target. The fact that Americans knew that, still blew up the front of the column and boxed people in and simultaneously continued to bomb them, okay, is completely unacceptable. The notion that this is actually perfectly valid of a target, in my opinion, the fact that, like, many liberals, like this fucking moron, okay, like this fucking moron is doing, shows me that the liberals have lost it completely. The anti-war liberals, was it for 10 hours the bombing happened? For 10 hours, they were bombed and also shot at by ground forces as well. There has to be a Russian-Ukrainian version of this that Russia did, okay? Because Russia does a lot of America shit. I suspect that there has to be a Russian version of this that this fucking dumbass 1,000,000% correctly called a war crime, okay? That's it. Bad legal takes jumps on the dum-dum train. This is not a bad legal take. What the fuck? Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Control F highways for the section on this. Middle East Watch obtained eyewitness testimony about apparently indiscriminate attacks on civilian vehicles on highways in Iraq, with the exception of one attack on a bus traveling from Kuwait to Iraq, in which 31 civilians were killed. These accounts described incidents that took place on the Baghdad-Amman International Highway in western Iraq, from which missiles were being launched into Israel. Civilian vehicles on other highways in Iraq were also destroyed in Allied attacks. Is this Highway 8 and 80 or not? Yeah, they use cluster bombs, by the way. That was the other thing, which is insane, but, you know. They are going to say you hope for a Russian version of the Highway of Death. That's going to happen 100% because they're disingenuous. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Russia operates in a very similar capacity to the United States of America. So the likelihood that Russia has conducted similar war crimes is very high. And that person very clearly, if said thing did occur, would absolutely call it a war crime because it did. Because, I mean, it is a war crime. That's it. You want to know why I know that? Because in the popular Call of Duty franchise, one of the last games, they did actually attribute the Highway of Death to Russia. And they, of course, called it a war crime because it was. Yeah. U.S. scrambled to shape the view of Highway of Death. The U.S. Navy Silver Fox bombing squadron snooped beneath low clouds north of Kuwait City in the early hours of February 26 and suddenly found itself overlooking an attack pilot's dreamscape. More than 1,500 Iraqi tanks, armored vehicles, jeeps, water and fuel tankers, ambulances, tractor trailers, and passenger cars clogged in a traffic jam on a six-lane highway headed north. First of all, it wasn't even a fucking traffic jam. They caused the traffic jam personally. Fire and shrapnel exploded on the highway as bombs fell from the Silver Fox Squadron's A6E, which I also mentioned. Okay. The Baky-Rostov highway bombing was an incident which occurred in the village of Shami Yurt in Chechnya. Two low-flying Russian aircraft carried out repeated rocket attacks on a large convoy of refugees trying to enter the Russian Republic of Ingushetia through a supposed safe exit route. The attacks killed or injured scores of people. Russia surrounded and killed retreating Ukrainian troops at the Battle of Iovaisk in 2014. It is very often cited by Ukrainian nationalists as an example of Russian brutality. Ukraine, Russian assault kills fleeing civilians. Continuous shelling. No, they're going to say that that the guys are not actually fleeing civilians. They're Arabs, so they're all enemy combatants. That's the point here. The major point of contention is that it's not just an entire column of military members. There are literal civilians. There were refugees. That's the whole point. He's not gonna care about Chechnya. Yeah, you hate on Russia for no reason. He's not gonna care about Chechnya. No, I know. I said that I'm sure Russia has done something similar to retreating forces in Ukraine. Okay. Anyway. And therefore, if there is such a thing, which I'm sure has probably happened, he would absolutely present that as a war crime because it is. Okay? Anyway. The notion that people are defending this is genuinely psychotic to me, though. The idea that, like, so many people were incredibly galvanized and, like, ready to be like, you're so dumb. Like, it's insane to me. We are fully at the stage of, like, you know, Americans are so brain broken. Civilians, even potential hostages. I see so much Iraq war apologia. Guys, the funniest part about this, let me tell you something. The funniest part about this argument, the funniest part of this contention is that this isn't even like Iraq 2, okay? This is the other one that, like, pretty much everyone agrees was really fucked up. That's the thing. People love the Gulf War, even if they didn't like the second one. No, but No, this is the one aspect of the Gulf War that they think is like fucked up. The Gulf War pretty much is it's nothing overall. This is the one aspect that this is the one aspect that like everybody recognizes is not great. They think it's valid because Iraq invaded Kuwait. Yeah, exactly, but it's just like it's still ridiculous. I can't even show you. I mean, but okay, never mind. There is not like it doesn't show you everything, but good because there's like charred humans and shit stuck in between the cars and whatnot. So I have to clear it to make sure that you don't see it. I don't know. I do personally think that this is genuinely a scary prospect that people like the American government itself considers this bombing to be, obviously they're going to say it's not a war crime. They're always going to find a justification for it. But the fact that like even the American government themselves were like, okay, never mind. Maybe not great. And now like liberals are turning around and defending it aggressively is wild. 1,500 tanks. How is that civilians? I already mentioned to you that it is a column of retreating forces and also civilians. I don't think people see it. Bro, you don't have to argue about the details of it. It's a war crime. They're going to go full lawyer mode and argue the specific wordings and shit. The point is that it's immoral. And if it's not a war crime, it should be one and the laws need updating. No, but it is. You can make the argument that it is definitely a war crime. That's the other part of it. Even from the legalese side, I very carefully used my words, which they are avoiding, to make it seem like this was just, tanks that were repositioning so they can attack again and again. Not that like they were retreating forces, as even the fucking Wikipedia page posts. Can you imagine what they say if those are American troops retreating from their invasion of Iraq? Yeah. Except you can never imagine that because America doesn't fight battles with like serious states that have like active militaries, okay? America is the cop in this story. So they don't do, they operate like Uvalde. They don't go in when there's actual people who can fight back, usually, with like a similar level of violence. They only fight when they have air superiority. Anyway. I am Kuwaiti, and those Iraqis didn't deserve to be bombed brutally like that. Yeah. Yeah. This came after a UN resolution, like the retreat. They're making it about bombing retreating military forces when the war crime is bombing retreating military on infrastructure that's being utilized by identified retreating civilians. Yes, it's also in like civilian vehicles as well. And not only that, but the way to justify it is by saying, no, we had actionable intelligence that the civilian vehicles were being, used by Iraqi soldiers. Okay? And that, once again, no, it's not poop on Kai's bed. You made me look. That guy's pro-Palestine too, by the way, so it makes it... Yeah, okay, dude. Liberals are only pro-Palestine as long as Palestinians are perfect victims, okay? The moment that you don't consider a Palestinian to be a perfect victim, liberals will be just as, just as aggro. Ridiculous shit. Kai has gotten a hold of the poop sock. Yeah. All right. Yeah, by the way, this is the other thing. This was a coalition of British forces that actually protected the retreating ISIS fighters and their family members out of Raqqa. Something to think about. Something to think about. Cool stuff, though, overall. War crime apology hour, baby. Yeah, to Idlib, which in Turkish-backed forces' hands. Yeah, I don't know how we got here. Honestly, like I know that, like, I mean, I joke about like how ferocious and bloodthirsty liberals are for the most part, but like, you know, at least there is supposed to be like a plausible deniability usually. And I think that they have gotten increasingly more bloodthirsty as of late. You know what I mean? Like it's a real mask off moment for a lot of these dudes, you know? It's specific to Twitter, I think, and Twitter drives news media discourse. Yeah. Twitter has definitely gotten way, way worse. Iraqi forces were attacked for invading Kuwait. Iraqi occupation had been long-term adverse impact on the health of the Kuwaiti populace. Okay. You should just go into Iraq and kill them too then. Oh, wait, we did do that. Well, not this Polish fuckbag. He didn't do shit. He's just sitting there jerking off, like I said in my original tweet about America's violence against brown people. You're not even arguing with them. You're arguing the propaganda they regurgitate because the U.S. went crazy trying to cover these things off. If you read further into it, which you properly did, you'd see they literally scrambled together lies of things again and again and again. Yeah. The bombing demonstrated one grim irony of the brief ground phase of the conflict, that a war undertaken to drive Iraqi forces from Kuwait ended with some Iraqi troops desperately trying to leave the emirate while U.S. forces held them in place and destroyed them. The U.S. military officers said their main purpose in pounding fleeing Iraqi troops was to protect Allied forces elsewhere on the battlefield by cutting off potential recruitments for the Iraqi Republican Guard divisions north and west of Kuwait. In retrospect, some officers say the doomed Iraqis crowded on the highway, many of whom had loaded their vehicles with loot stolen from Kuwait, probably wanted to go home to Baghdad, not reinforce the Republican Guard. Even this, by the way, even this still leaves like a level of, yeah, these guys are actually bad guys. Okay? Like, oh, they had stolen loot. None of that, by the way, is a real justification, for the record, on retreating forces after a fucking resolution has come and they're literally fucking leaving. Okay? They're literally retreating, and they're retreating alongside refugees and other civilians. Okay? You can't do that. While the bombing was an act of war ordered by Allied field commanders seeking to protect the troops on a dangerous battlefield, it was also the focus of a public relations campaign managed by U.S. Central Command in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, a campaign designed to shape perceptions of the war's last and most violent phase, which culminated in the near total destruction of Iraq's army in Kuwait and southern Iraq. The northeast of here, more than 400 charred vehicles and dozens of bodies marked the 50-mile... It's not even dozens, by the way. The bodies are, I think, like some estimates were around 300. Some estimates go all the way up to 600. Okay. But yeah, where another fleeing Iraqi, more than 400 barks, the 50-mile stretch where another fleeing Iraqi convoy was destroyed along a second road that connects the Kuwait town of Jahra to Iraq. But the highway of death, as the road near Mutla has come to be known, may be something of a misnomer. It is now apparent that more Iraqis fled in their vehicles and were taken prisoner than were killed by the U.S. bombing of the highway. There are still no reliable figures on precisely how many people were killed in the convoy, but reporters who visited the scene as bodies were being collected say the most they saw on any one place was 40, and they estimated that a total of 200 to 300 Iraqis may have died at the scene. The following reconstruction is drawn from interviews with Kuwaiti witnesses, U.S. field commanders and soldiers in Kuwait, officers with the U.S. Central Command in Saudi Arabia, and pool reports of interviews with U.S. pilots conducted at the time of the bombing. Feverish, fatal flight. Huddled in their homes beside the highway leading from Kuwait City to Iraq, Kuwaitis who had suffered through more than 6 months of brutal occupation listened with amazement to the chaotic sounds of a panicked Iraqi army on the move. In the black of night, tanks and armored vehicles rumbled. Car and truck horns blew. Voices cursed in Arabic, and every so often there was a crunch of a traffic collision, then more curses and blowing horns. It was Monday night, February 25th, less than 48 hours into a ground offensive the Kuwaitis hoped would liberate their besieged country. Ever since the ground war began, there had been signs that the Iraqi troops were preparing to leave Kuwait. Sunday, for example, they had been seen loading television sets and other booty into stolen cars and trucks. Now the flight was feverish, as if they were racing to get to Iraq recalled Manawar Saeed, a Kuwaiti education ministry employee who lived by the highway. No reliable figures, but Washington Post asserts that the PLO civilians were thieves. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, yeah, that is a subtle way of being like, yeah, they still kind of deserve it. Like, they're still bad guys. If you are a squishy liberal, like a rule follower, right? This gives you a little bit of a permission to like kind of look the other way, even when you recognize the brutality and devastation that these people are subjected to. Okay. Brown guys stealing televisions. Maybe they deserve to be fucking slaughtered, right? Near midnight came the first thunder of bombs. Iraqis on the highway redoubled their panic flight, only to exacerbate the traffic jam. Vehicles poured into the southbound lanes that head north and collided with one another. Hundreds of Iraqis jumped from their cars and trucks and ran off into the night, desperate for a place to hide. Some crouched in a nearby cemetery. Many sought refuges in empty houses. By morning, the highway was a mangled scene of destruction and death. Planes from the aircraft carrier USS Ranger buzzed the convoy again, dropping cluster bombs and whatever other munitions they could hurriedly load onto their attack planes. Marines unleashed 500-pound bombs on stranded vehicles. Air Force F-16A fighter bombers raced north in the bases in Saudi Arabia. There were so many planes striking the convoy, pilots said that the killing box had to be divided in half by air traffic controllers to avoid mid-air collisions. U.S. pilots and Kuwaiti civilians who witnessed the attack were struck by the scale of its destruction. A few felt pity for the Iraqi victims or expressed mixed feelings about the one-sidedness of the bombing, but most say they thought the Iraqis were getting only what they deserved. I think we're past the point of just letting him get in his tank and drive them back to Iraq and say, I'm sorry. U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel George Patrick told a media pool reporter that Tuesday, as he rested between missions against the convoy, I feel fairly punitive about it. A retreating enemy is still an enemy, law. Brother, this happens in war all the time. This does not mean that it is a totally moral and justifiable thing to do. You are opening up fire on an entire column filled to the brim with not just actual soldiers, okay, but it does have retreating forces, but also civilians as well. It's over at that point. They're done. They're packed up. They're going home. You're literally getting your rocks off by firing into them. That's it. There is no reason for that bloodshed. Okay? That's the whole point. This is not fucking Call of Duty. Navy pilot Swigert, speaking to a reporter on the Ranger as he reloaded between attacks, said, one side of me says, that's right. That's right. It's like shooting ducks in a pond. Does that make me uncomfortable? Not necessarily, except there's a side of me that says, what are they dying for? For a madman's cause? And is that fair? Well, we're at war. It's the tragedy of war, but we do our jobs. Okay? I did not realize that there were this many people that actually still considered that to be a legitimate like defense of this was mounted. Okay. The entire conversation is poison from the start. The concept of soldiers being reduced to legitimate targets in the first place is dehumanizing. If we're truly anti-war, we need to deconstruct the entire concept of reducing humanizing the tragedy of war. Yeah. Kuwaiti civilians living near the highway exploded, felt none of the pilots' ambivalence. These people who left Kuwait at the last moment were the security forces of Iraq, the people who really controlled the city. A Kuwaiti marketing executive said that they were the most brutal, most vicious people in Kuwait. We have no pity on them because they had no pity on anybody, shaping world perceptions. That Tuesday morning, while bombs exploded on the highway, this is like America going to people to like justify this action, for the record. Okay. So, if they were on the other side of the boundary, it would be considered, here's the point. These are retreating forces that are very deliberately trying to get back into Iraq. The distinction here is, are they considered out of combat or not? A UN resolution 660 has come. There have been numerous instances past that point where there's like a point of no return, right? People are very obviously going into Iraq. Why can't you bomb them when they're in Iraq? Can you bomb them if they have already made it past the point of going into Iraq? The answer is no. That would be officially, legally past the point where they are absolutely out of combat. It would be a violation of the Geneva Convention. While they are retreating, if it's a tactical retreat to go back and fight and resupply other forces, then they are valid targets. Okay? Technically. The issue is, it's very obvious that these guys were retreating alongside refugees and other civilians, many of them directly in civilian cars. Okay? This was not happening with like exclusively tanks and military gear and military combat gear, and everyone that's dying is like directly a part of the military. Okay? That's it. There is a very real argument here that this constitutes a war crime, like from an international legal definition as well. Many loudmouth liberal morons have no idea the gruesome atrocities committed by everyone that led to the Geneva Convention. You stupid fucks are not playing a video game. Yeah, I mean, they don't care, because when has America ever cared about? When has America ever cared about war crimes? We don't care. We do it all the time. There is no justification for it, and it still doesn't matter. Anyway. Yeah, I said the same thing. If Russia did this to Ukrainian troops who were retreating, you would I know for a fact that they would call it a war crime, which it would be. But their answer to that would be, well, Ukrainian forces weren't on Russian soil. Okay? Technically, they're not invading Russia and then running away. It still doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. Retreating forces that are out of combat, that are seeking to be out of combat, are not fucking fair play. Anyway, so look, Baghdad's pullout order posed. Oh, so this is the other part that I forgot. That Tuesday morning, while bombs exploded on the highway, senior U.S. military officials stationed far away at command headquarters in Riyadh wrestled with an unexpected problem: how to counter Iraq's surprise claim that the troops attempting to flee north from Kuwait were part of an orderly withdrawal from the Emirate designed to comply with the United Nations resolutions. Surprise! How do we deal with these people that are actually retreating following an order? As the Iraqi vehicles rumbled and collided in the darkness on Monday night and early Tuesday morning, Baghdad radio announced that Iraq's government had ordered all of its troops to withdraw from Kuwait, ending months of defiant occupation. Baghdad's pullout order posed several problems for the U.S.-led military coalition. Continued Allied attacks raised the specter of a one-sided slaughter of retreating Iraqi troops, possibly complicating U.S. political problems in the Arab world. Perhaps more importantly, a successful Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait would deprive the Allies of a chance to humiliate the Iraqi president Saddam Hussein, destroy the remnants of his army, and prevent him from posing a continued military threat in the region. By Tuesday morning, with Allied ground forces rolling into Kuwait and across southern Iraq, the total defeat of Iraq's military had become a clear but generally unstated U.S. war aim. The aim was politically sensitive because the United Nations resolutions under which the war was organized did not go beyond the liberation of Kuwait. They got pot shots. specifically for their own personal interest, one of which was the humiliation of Saddam Hussein, to attack retreating orders after a lawful retreat order had been given, after retreating forces after a lawful retreat order had been given in compliance with a United Nations resolution, Resolution 660. Okay. Now, why did I go through all of this? Well, two reasons. One, because it once again shows that liberals are profoundly bloodthirsty psychopaths. Okay. And they also are very confident in the way that they cover this shit. Like, they make it seem as though they are absolutely correct in their defense of America's bloodthirsty and psychopathic violence. Okay. It's ironic that he called me a bootlicker. I'm confused why people are so dick hard to defend a 30-year-old American atrocity. So fucking strange. The other reason why I'm covering this extensively, okay? The other reason why I can't believe they cited Wikipedia to go against your claims. Yeah, Wikipedia, which literally reaffirmed my position, okay? But the other reason why I'm talking about this is because sometimes I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind because I'm literally correct. I am correct 100%. I'm both morally correct and I'm even correct within the legal framework that we supposedly follow, which we don't. And that's what's really frustrating. It's frustrating to be right, both on the moral front and also even on the legal boundaries that we have created. And yet, people are so passionately saying you're wrong. Okay? Like, there's two different fronts to argue this on. Is it valid? Are these valid targets? From a moral perspective, I don't believe they are. Okay? I don't think they are. Is it valid from a legal perspective? I don't think that's the case either. And that is what's frustrating. Why does it matter? You just disagree with certain things. Why does this matter? When has any country cared? Question mark. Brother, why should I ever cover anything then? This is, this directly contradicts what my mission is. My goal is to get people to open their fucking eyes and be a little bit more empathetic. I should just stop then. This is what's very, very frustrating. The level of propaganda within America is so saturated and ubiquitous that it's important to make public aware of it and educate them on its pervasiveness. Only then will you move hearts and minds. Yes. I think I just need to keep doing it. And I will continue to keep doing it, but it does definitely take a mental toll. You know what I mean? It kills me a little bit to see people, try to desperately try to put a community note on anything they possibly can. It's so funny. Like that they originally community note the reply with an irrelevant point, which still reaffirms enjoy your community note. I hate these animals so much. They have nothing to look forward to other than fantasize about America doing war crimes to victims of colonial violence with funds that could instead go to paying for schools, hospitals, and roads. Real leftists and anti-war advocates are with you, man, even if they get drowned out, Twitters and everything. No, I know. But you have to remember, okay? You do have to remember that this kind of this kind of sentiment is like broadly expressed on Twitter, and it certainly does. It's certainly frustrating because he's saying like the Iraqi forces were attacked for invading Kuwait. It's like, bro, they literally they're retreating, dumbass. The account isn't Polish government funded, at least not anymore. It used to be. How long did we see community notes with the Breitbart articles as a receipt? Yeah. U.S. community notes, 70% of the time have U.S. Freedom Burger Institute as their only source.
Damn, this guy's good.